It gets really frustrating from a perspective that, as a victim, you've seen videos, reports of other women who have been killed, either in matrimony as wives or just a spouse, as a girlfriend, whether in Sierra Leone or some parts of the world. Not too long ago, a very popular gospel musician's story came to light after she had been killed. But it gets frustrating for people who encourage these victims to say, speak up. You keep saying speak up, they refuse to speak up, yet they see that other women and girls are dying. It gets super frustrating.
I think we can't relent because in the end, it's becoming fatal. People are losing their lives now. We can't relent. As a friend, if you know something, encourage the person to speak up. There are lines of communication wherein people can get help, because the most important thing, it's not just to speak up. How can you get help? That is also another thing. A lot of women are being traumatized. Do you understand? When I speak up, will they believe me? So it's also another thing of helping them, because sometimes we are also not helping the situation around victims, because they do want to speak up, but are we going to believe them? Are we going to help them? How are we going to back them up? When we go to the FSU, what is the FSU going to do? Is my environment going to point fingers at me? This is the woman that reported her husband, that the man beat her up. Now you want green, then don't beat. Do you understand? There are questions like that that they ask victims. So how would you want to speak up? As a community, as women, we have to back each other up and help each other when it's time to take action against perpetrators of violence in our communities.
It's time we are sharing the minister. It's a pleasure having you once again.
Thank you.
I could sense the ministry seem very much overwhelmed with the issues under discussion. The statistics are quite alarming. 62% for sexual violence and 61% for spousal violence. It's quite alarming, Madam Minister. Where are we?
Okay, this is what we challenge with on a daily basis. For the past months, even I can say since I took up the portmanteau, it has been very much stressful. And for me, I think even in as much as government is trying, civil society organizations are trying, grassroots organizations are trying to ensure that we change the narratives. Society keep derailing all of those efforts. For me, I believe it's a deep-rooted societal problem that we have. Changing of mindset on how people behave is something that is very, very much difficult. Change does not come in a day. We have had strategies put in place. We have seen in the recent past, we are in, even we organized a very big town hall meeting as a national engagement for us to understand and have a discussion as a nation how to tackle gender-based violence in this country, because we have seen lives being lost. Fabian was saying for the past 2 weeks, for me, I can trace back events, series of events that have occurred, and we don't seem to get it right. So this is why the fight we are in terms of trying to change the narrative, it's a multifaceted approach that we should take. It has to be a coordinated approach. We have to be willing. We have to be also very much consistent in the way and manner in which we handle things, we propagate information, share information so that we do not confuse the public. For me, these are the strategies that we need to employ as citizens of this country. Forget me being a politician seated here, but I have so much passion when it comes to talking about gender and gender-related issues, not to talk about involving in gender-based violence matters. For me, the past months have been I hardly sleep. Sometimes people will call me at 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. Why are you still up? I see you online, I say, yes, I'm doing the job. You know, people report at that time and they will see I respond immediately. Say, oh, you are still, I say, yes, I have to do the work. If I do not respond to this, by the time it is morning, a lot of messages would have come. Like the incident of Sia, it's so unfortunate that incidents like this keep reoccurring, because remember there was this sinner girl that the Bola Nicole case, it is similar. You know, we have had other cases very much similar. We have seen cases where girls are being thrown on the beach side, they're killed, thrown on the beach side. You will not get perpetrators. Perpetrators go unpunished because we lack the infrastructure that will be able to detect some of these DNAs that are being involved in terms of committing these crimes. You know, a lot of interventions are happening. Many organizations are working. It's not that we're not trying as a government. We're trying as a government. We have had systems in place. We have had issues like a protection system, which is not holistic though, which we are trying as a country to be able to have a holistic approach in terms of responding to GBV. But for me, I believe that some of these efforts are also because of the deep-rooted traditional factors. It's difficult. She was saying that sometimes people are afraid, women are afraid to report. Yes, when they report, they get frowned at. They have been stigmatized at community level in their homes, you know. But for me, I believe that that's not all, because before now, it was difficult for people to talk about it. But every corner you go in this country, people now are bold to talk about gender-based violence. Phoebe asked, why are people still not reporting? Too many things. We tend to give compromises. The recent case in question of Monica and then the former Minister of Gender, you know, the matter was reported to my office. Of course, my technical team handled this, and there were abuses in the same office, of course. The matter transferred to the FSU, and Monica gave a report. She was issued a medical certificate. She went back to the police to say to withdraw, and the police says, no. We cannot withdraw this matter. It's a matter of life and death. He just gave birth through C-section, you know. And for me, the reason why I even went to that house is to protect her and protect the babies. You understand? That's the first thing you do as responders of domestic violence. For me, the matters we have at hand in this country are issues that has to do with the societal pressure. People feel that, well, if they are not married, they are not validated. They don't feel as if they are important. If they do not belong to a certain section or sector, they feel they are not important. We copy a lot from people, and we copy bad things.
Dr. Mahoi, we'll have to talk on same because it's similarly so captured in this report. But again, what seems very worrying is the fact that the report do paint a picture that the statistics that we see are 2 or 3 times worse in cases that concerns the one that we saw you intervene over the weekend. Monica's case could just be one.
It's just one.
Could just be one.
Yeah, like I said, there are many cases, there are many incidents. And a lot of people are afraid to talk about it. A lot of people are afraid to report. Many will text me on Facebook through my page, through the official page, and say, Doctor, I want to talk to you. I have something that is bothering me. I am in this relationship. I said, come, let's have a discussion. It's not a social media discussion. They will never show up. You put pressure on them, they will never show up. I have evidence. They will not come because once they say, oh, I don't talk to the gender minister, and then people will say, no good. If you go there, that means you don't go report your man. Or if you go there, that means you don't go report your uncle where they get sex with you, where you know, too many things. You know, so it's frustrating. You want to change something, and people are holding you back. It's not that we're not trying as a government. We're trying. Like I said, all the institutions are trying. Everybody's working. The media is trying, is doing their own bit. Yesterday, I was having a discussion with UNFPA country rep. I said, look, we need also to scale up trainings for media personnel and also even bloggers, because the way and manner in which things are being reported as well or escalated on the media also aggravates situations. So we need to have a tailored approach. It has to be systematic. It has to be very much coordinated so that that also will help change the narratives. But the problem we have is deep-rooted societal pressure. This is what we have, and this is how we need to change the mindset.
Earlier on, you mentioned that there is now the awareness from across the looks and kind of Sierra Leone as to the issues affecting women and girls that are captured in these reports. But it seems like the information is yet to even sink the way it should.
Okay,
people are still missing the,
yes.
people are
Again,
still missing the point.
Another aspect that we're also looking at when it comes to like sexual gender-based violence or this, it's because also before now the awareness wasn't there and people do not feel safe to report, so they don't talk about it. They just keep everything sinking and you are being tormented psychologically. Even your social appearance tells. But now a lot of people are coming out because they feel that some change is happening. And this is why people are talking about it. If you look at the case of sexual gender-based violence, a lot of people are coming out now because they feel that they need to talk about it. If they don't talk about it, they don't get closure. If they don't talk about it, they will not get the support they deserve. So this is why people are talking about it. It's not that it was not happening before. It was happening. But people are now talking about it because of the awareness. This is why we have started like a district town hall engagements where I will meet people in their communities to angets. So we have a national discussion. We have started here in Freetown. Next week, we'll be going to other places, getting all of the regions, all of the districts being involved in this, because it is not a one-man show. It is not an SLPP show. It is not an APC show. It is everybody's show. We need to talk about it. We need to be engaged. We need to involve. We need to have people act on this so that we begin to see changes. And these are positive changes we're talking about, not negative changes.
In a moment. Kemi, let's go back in time. In 2016, we had Sia Lucia Numa, who on 7th February 2016 was also a victim. 13th August, Sia Kamara. Sina Kaikago was in 2022. These are 3 victims who didn't survive to tell their own personal story, except to people who perhaps they had been talking to from time to time about their situation, but now they don't have the opportunity to talk to the public. Now there's Florence Sabo in 2015, while she was visibly, heavily pregnant. Seriously battered by her then husband. She reported, she was saved, she had the opportunity to tell her story. We just heard of Monica, who had the courage to come forward. Despite the popularity, prominence of her husband, she still had the courage to come forward. We still have victims amongst us.
Yes.
We know some of our friends, our relatives and loved ones who are victims. We've tried to encourage them repeatedly. 1 minute, they have the courage to come forward. Next minute, they're changing the story. We've seen some of these victims, after they've been manhandled by their spouses, these same spouses go on social media to make a nice post about how in love they are with them, sending them gifts. Does this paint a picture of our perspective of what love is and what a relationship should be?
I think from our perspective, first of all, if you're always angry as a man, that it leads you to the point where you have to lay your hands on your spouse, your partner, then you're in the wrong relationship. And if a man is laying hands on you, he doesn't love you. Don't let anyone brainwash you. And you have women who actually say, oh,
but that's what we've heard. He does it because he's in love with you.
Good.
He's in love, so he felt jealous. He's in love, so he felt disrespected. And even in these same conversations, we've had men who subconsciously confess to being perpetrators.
Exactly.
I've seen someone who's very prominent post that we have all been in a situation where we've lost our temper. Subconsciously confessing to say, I am also a perpetrator. I perpetrate violence on my spouse. But it leaves some thinking that that's what love is. No. Men only react like that because they love you. No. And then you would hear them say, oh, it's also because many of these women, if you don't hit them, they don't feel loved. They don't feel like your
Good,
attention
good,
is with the relationship.
Good. I think it's a very, very, very bad way of thinking. First of all, you don't need to lay your hands on your woman to prove that you love them. First of all, it means you totally do not love your woman. You don't have to hit her, and there's nothing exactly that a woman can do to you, because you have those who say, well, she did something, but there's nothing absolutely that a woman should do that should warrant you to lay your hands on her. That is not love. And I think we have to change the narrative and start also from the bottom, from when we were kids. Because a lot of us grew up in abusive homes, and we thought that is what is love. But that isn't love, actually, because one thing I know is violence is a learned behavior, and it is also a choice. You can walk away. You don't need to lay your hands on the woman. And the woman also needs to know that if he's laying his hands on me, he doesn't respect me, he doesn't value my life, and he doesn't love me. So you also have a choice to make, to speak up, to walk away from that relationship, and preserve your life. Like you said, we have Sina, we have Sia, who is dead right now. They can't tell their own story. We can't actually know what exactly happened, what led to this, because they are gone, they are no more with us. And if you are alive, it means that is your cue to leave. That is actually your cue to walk away. I honestly don't understand the reasons why women still sit in these abusive relationships, but I think as a society, we can still continue to give them support, to help them understand that it is okay to speak up. As a lot of them are actually being stigmatized when they do speak up, but it is better than losing your life.
And the thing is, Doc, I'll come to you on this. With especially the very recent cases we've had, more so the very recent prominent cases we've had, the alleged perpetrators, these are people of high standing, you would say, in society. How difficult does this make the fight against sexual and gender-based violence, domestic violence, intimate partner violence in the country, when some of these alleged perpetrators, again, are people of high standing, prominent people in society, when our nation has been known for compromise?
So for me, this has been the most challenging aspect, you know. And then sometimes you feel you're not doing enough. Sometimes you feel, let me walk out. Sometimes you feel pressured because when you decide to take an action and then you begin to get calls here and there, you begin to say, oh, this one, I get Anpan this case.
But these are people who ought to know better.
Exactly.
The alleged perpetrators, even those who are calling to compromise for them, they ought to know better.
And for me, I feel that any form of violence against a human being or woman is violence. It is wrong. We should not accept it. In the first place, we should not compromise. And then this is where, once, like working in the ministry now, we have our mandate. And sometimes, once we have reached our mandate, we've passed that level, we don't know where decisions come from, because we leave it with the police or the judiciary so that they can handle those matters, because we have our mandates, we have where we do not cross the lines. All we need to do is work together. We present every evidence that we have before us. We present whatever case or matter that comes before us, and then we leave it with the police and the judiciary to handle it. So that, like I said, it's a multifaceted approach, and now we have set up what we call the Gender Steering Committee, the Gender-Based Violence Steering Committee, which meets, in fact, today we're meeting at 3 o'clock. We have a couple of key institutions there, the military, the police. We decided to bring in the military because they were not there initially, and also civil society organizations that are present. So we look at issues and find a way of trying to solve them. Sometimes what happens in these matters as well is because of lack of evidence. When there is lack of evidence, the police cannot charge. There is no way some of these cases can get to court even. And sometimes when they get to court, there is no evidence to prove, because even the victims will also try to find of concealing information. So they conceal information and make your work very difficult for you. So this is where also we feel that, what do people think? Do they feel that when people violate them, they are doing them a favor? Even though we're trying to let them understand that violence in every form is wrong, but they still feel that this one you want can't well be married, this one you want can't well we sit on place and everything. So you find it very challenging, and this is where I feel frustrated at times. If government is trying, what we have done is we are trying to let the police and the judiciary work closely, because sometimes this is where we have the missing links. You know, sometimes the police will refer these matters to the court, and because of the workload in the judiciary, we do not have many judges to preside over these matters. Then it becomes problematic. So cases will span like even 8 months, 1 year. They are still lying there without being called, and perpetrators sometimes are free. Sometimes some of them are also behind bars unjustly at times, because if you do not get the evidence to prove, because what we're looking at is justice. For me, I believe in justice. When a case is being reported, until it is proven guilty, then you believe that all evidences are pointing against you, then I feel relieved. But sometimes people are scot-free when they are the real perpetrators. They're there. And sometimes people suffering behind bars when they are the victims, you know. So it's a kind of challenge that we're facing. One of the biggest challenges, because we do not have forensic lab in this country, which is easy.
Even as we talk of the absence of most of those facilities. But again, what seems to have come out very clear from this conversation is their sense to speak out when something of such is happening.
Yeah.
But do we have the required structures to protect people?
That's where I was coming. That's where I was coming as well. We have very few safe homes in this country. Very, very few. When I say few, it's not up to 4. So imagine a population of 8 million people, and violence is on the increase, or the reporting of violence is on the increase. And then you don't have, like, the case of Monica. I'm coming to Monica again. When I went to remove Monica, I was thinking, where would I take her and the babies? I was thinking of a safe home, a facility where she would be protected with security and every other facility in there for her. But we're working closely. The Chinese have the promise of giving us one, which would be between Kenema, Kono, and Kailau, to serve in the eastern region. We have one in Bombali district, and there is one in Freetown. So for me, I feel that because we lack these structures or these facilities, it's also challenging. And this is why sometimes people are afraid to report. Because when you report, where do you go next? Where do you go for being safe? You don't have those. So because of the few that are available, and the services there are also not too good, then it becomes challenging. Then where do we turn to? Our partners to help us as a country. We have too many things to fix. And until we are able to fix those ones, those structures, then we'll be able to create the change that we desire.
Let me just take an excerpt from this report. It reads, married women between the ages of 15 to 49 in Potloko of the Western Sierra Leone experienced the highest rates at 81% of physical, sexual, or emotional violence, while those in Kenema in the eastern region experienced the lowest of 35. Imagine the lowest is 35.
35.
You'll have imagined the other districts, what will have been the number.
So
but 81
let's say average being 65.
Good. But 81, it's like the message has not reached Potloko districts.
No.
It's like they're still in dark in terms of understanding the problems, Madam Minister.
No.
Is the ministry visible in Potloko district?
Certainly. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. And it's not only the ministry. I keep saying, we do not have to rely on government alone. We also have to look at the local structures that are there. There are many structures in these communities. And probably you have to also look at the indicators that were used and the data I mean, the numbers that were also taken from Port Local. What I do not get clearly is the data, how they got the data from the DHS or from others.
Are you skeptical as to the data?
No, I'm not skeptical. I'm a researcher. This is why I'm being like very critical.
Sure.
Because sometimes in numbers, it's not, or you do not only have to look at the numbers. Sure. Yes, even though I rely on data myself, but you have to look at the population of Port Local. Port Local is a very large district. So there are times, sometimes you give representative samples.
Right.
So probably this particular study is a representative sample that we looked at, or the sample size for this Port Local is huge than other areas. I'm not saying, but it can also be they are the same numbers when it comes to sample size, but also because people, the mindset of people in those particular areas, I'm not going to put local people and can't beat me, is also very much critical. How do people change, accept change? And Port Local is way closer to Freetown. Very close. Very close to Freetown. So when you think about facilities, when you think about opportunities, they are way closer than any other district that you can think about. So they should be nearest to raw material, nearest to the information. But like the changing of mindset is very critical when it comes to this. And there are other factors responsible, like you look at the education, probably you check the educational level as well. So you check other variables to see how many people in Port Local are educated. How many actually are enrolled and are retained in school. There are other variables that you need to check. So all of these factors will play a key role. If, for instance, you go again to Moyamba, the district where I came from, also very closer to Freetown. But it's one of the poorest districts. It's one of those districts where we have got many prominent people, but that district is also not growing. So you begin to think about the mindset of people. You know, this is Moyamba is southern. So these kind of factors also play a key role.
How interrelated are these problems with the current economic situation of the country?
You look at the economic situation of those particular places. The two places I have called, Moyamba, Port Local. These are also places where, you know, poverty is seen. So anywhere you have deep-rooted poverty problems, be sure to get associated other problems, social problems that they are faced with. For me, it's a challenge that we need to work on together. It's not a challenge that is government going to take alone. All of us should be hands on deck. And I keep saying, if we do not work collaboratively, then we'll not be able to change. When we talked about the incidents, you know, the incidents of those children that died in the Bondo Bush or somewhere, it's from those Port Local Cambia end. So you begin to think about what is happening in these places. So this is why many of the interventions are skewed towards those places where we have seen issues of violence, issues coming up that are perpetrating against women and girls. For me, it's a challenge that we have faced. And since I have taken up this office, there's not an activity or event that we've had that Port Local or Moyamba or Cambia is not mentioned. Because we look at even the data that is available when it comes to districts that are with poor economic background and these are the districts. And this is where you get some of these incidents.
Doc, we know we'd need to let you go before
Absolutely,
9.
because I was just watching.
Let's go through some of our Facebook comments quickly, so you would have an opportunity to respond to some. Albert Lansana says, violent relationships between intimate partners are characterized by a cycle of violence in which numerous forms of social control may be used. Men will disconnect telephone lines, disable cars, and threaten women at their place of work. Actions that narrowed the abused partner's options to leave, especially in the case of women in rural settings where powerful notions of family loyalty and gender roles work against leaving as an option.
Sir Kokowai says women are seen as, oh my God, so many messages coming. So I say women are seen as second-class citizens, holding basic women to be dependent on their spouse for their survival rather than supporting each other.
Swissman interestingly says, Madam, as you speak, are you sure that since you started your relationships, do you want to tell us that your husband or boyfriend had never lay his hand on you? Please say the truth, because I believe that sometimes men beating their wives because of temper due to the attitude of the woman. Some women can abuse their husbands, and some even abuse their husbands because there is nothing in the house. Even though women don't change their attitude, men should always have the courage to stay away from violence, because violence always gives out negative results. I remember when I was working in the judiciary, I had a matter of attempted murder when one man stabbed his wife with a chef knife, while the woman ended up losing her life.
Osfriend Kamara says, a psychological approach model can be created to promote and address the issues of gender-based violence. Nothing that there is sexual violence, noting that there is sexual violence and spousal violence, poverty, breakdown of services, displacement, and stress within the home, and cultural belief of customary marriage.
Mosdi says, Madam Minister, I have few questions and observations. According to reports, when Monica was removed from the alleged crime scene, she was taken to her family members for protection. If that was the case, do you think that was wise? That was a wise thing to do, considering these issues of domestic violence is not unique to Sierra Leone, and we've seen here in the Western world similar circumstances like this, where the victims were removed and taken to their families, not by the authorities, but by friends or family members. At the end, the perpetrators will go to those family homes and continue their aggression, putting others' lives in danger. If not, why does the government can provide safe spaces for these victims until there is some kind of protective measure put in place? Finally, why did you yourself went to the home of the alleged location to remove the victim instead of letting the relevant authorities do their jobs? Is it that you don't have confidence in the authorities to carry out their duties effectively? Thank you.
Mystic Dwazak says, as a nation, the Ministry of Social Welfare with the Ministry of Gender should collaborate with their partners by ensuring they do more awareness on domestic abuse, more so when the happenings are frequent.
My last speak for this conversation is from Sam Conte. He says, the disrespect against women na salon high due to poor enforcement of the law to protect women. Na salon man just they come across woman in slap. Okay, they come across woman in slap them. Then una okay, I'll refuse to read the last bits of it.
Albert Lansana says, inmates, partner assaults, separation assaults, domestic violence, spatial abuse, and other forms of interpersonal violence like bullying, cyberbullying should be taken very seriously. Victims must be protected against their perpetrators. Perpetrators should be punished severely. And last from my end is from Mystic again. He says, if you are educated, it doesn't mean you don't need domestic violence awareness, because even the educated Sierra Leonean are guilty of it. And as much as the temptations are plenty in many relationships, try to keep your peace by controlling your temperament.
Controversially, Alhaji Abdullahi Kamara says men are also suffering from domestic violence.
They are.
Speak for the men too.
Okay,
The
so
response.
I think
yes,
that- I think that was the argument
I have
yesterday.
few responses. First of all, the one that asked me about my personal life. I'm not going to respond to that because it's my private and personal life. And if I'm going through it, it is my responsibility to talk about it in the first place. And the other thing is the person that says why I went to Attila, to Attila's place. And I believe there are videos there that says, he was asking me, Madam Minister, come. I said, I'm not going up there. I was waiting for the authorities to come. I was waiting for the FSU to come. It was the FSU that went upstairs to his home and then removed the baby. In fact, when they removed Monica, they brought Monica with one of the babies that was in my car already. I was there. They said, Madam Minister, we need a vehicle. I said, come in my vehicle, then we go to the police. So I went to the police. That's where I took the moniker. And I already spoke about the lack of safe homes. These are the facilities that we do not have. We have to be very much realistic about what we have and what we don't have. So we need to talk about it. I already spoke about that one. I'm not going to respond. And in terms of being afraid of reporting, sometimes we have what we call the 116 toll-free line, which is there to report gender-based violences. There are also other mechanisms that people can give reports on gender. Even the military, they have. There are other institutions that have their own toll-free lines for reporting gender-based violence, which can be linked to our ministry. And then we have what we call the male engagement strategy, which we have launched since 2022 as a government. So with this, we are involving men in the fight against gender-based violence. When I started my discussion, I said development is coming, it's in a very slow pace. It is gradual. So we need to put those things together to ensure we all work on this together to help change the narratives for the better. For me, I believe both men and women suffer. This is why in some of my discourse, I always tell people that it's a human abuse that people are going through. But the fact here remains, women suffer a lot. A lot of women go through it because, one, the physical makeup of that woman. Women do not challenge men that are very much physically strong than them. And also, a lot of women depend on men for their economic benefits. So these are the problems. So if you even want us to discuss issues like this, they are all interrelated. You need to look at women's economic empowerment aspect coming in. So when women are empowered economically, they are also capable of understanding their rights in the first place, advocating for their rights. They feel empowered. But when they are not economically empowered, then they fall in situations like this. Also, you remember say, all things that demand they bring and come now us. If me and me picking and come out now, how we go survive? Governments go can't give me. These are some of the things. So this is what we should be reflecting on. And this is what, as a government, the government of His Excellency Brigadier Madabio, is what we're fighting for. This is why we have the 5 game changers, where you look at the feed salon and other aspects, and ensuring that the public, the human capital development is also something that we need to focus on. Once people are economically empowered, they will be able to, in fact, you distract yourself from all of those happenings. For me, that's the take that I have. I want to say thank you as I leave you.
Sure.
Okay.
So let's quickly. Just a response quickly.
Okay, so just from what the Honorable Minister was saying, I think we can't have this fight without the men on board. We have to bring them on board. We have to work with them because, like this other individual said, men also are being abused, and a lot of them are not speaking up. It's time for all of us to speak up, and because women are mostly the ones that are victimized, we also need the men to come on board and work with us, just so that we have a safe space, a safe place for women to thrive. You don't have to be scared of leaving your house. You don't have to be scared of going home, all just because there's someone there that violates you. There's an abuser at home. There's an abuser at work. There's an abuser in the streets. We don't have to live in fear. And another thing that we also need to ensure is that we also have to help the women, you know. When women speak up, we also have to understand that they're going through something, and we have to come in and help them. Because what we need to understand also is sometimes it is very difficult for them to thrive outside of these relationships, because let's say, for example, you have kids to cater to, and you are in your home, and now we're saying, oh, speak up, oh, you've reported your husband, what you did was wrong. Now you have to start thinking about, how do I take care of my children? How am I going to be able to feed them? How would they be able to go back to school? Because I am sure that is one of the reasons why a lot of women do not speak up, because of the benefits they get from their spouses. They think about, how do I start afresh? How do I start from the bottom again? If I left this man, would that go give me? Do you understand? Those are some of the reasons why a lot of women are not speaking up, are not coming forth to say, this is happening to me. And I also think, just as the Honorable Minister was saying, we need to put structures in place wherein these lives are being protected. When you speak up, what would happen to you? Are you afraid of your life? Are you afraid? Are you in fear? Okay, why don't talk, so waiting will happen to me? Because these men beat these women, and sometimes when they go to their family members, just as the person that gave the comments was saying, they go to that house and they go back and say, Abi don't marry me, woman. Oh. It's either you give me back the money, or or I come back and take the woman. We're legally married. They even tell family members, not put you more today, now we family business. So women are being victimized. They are being stigmatized also by their communities when they speak up, and they also live in fear. So I think we have to put up structures where their lives are being protected. Sadly, we have 4 homes for them. I think we can do better as a nation.
Indeed. I think social norms, do drive most of these sexual and gender-based violence.
Exactly, they do.
Thank you very much, Femi Bai Atilla, for being here. She's the president of FEM Collective, and we've also had the Minister of Gender and Children's Affairs, Dr. Isata Mahoi, who had to leave. Of course, we're not the only channel. She's got to be at other media houses as well for interviews this morning. But thanks for your time this morning for this first part of the conversation.